Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to do a little watercolor demonstration, and I'm broadcasting live from Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitch. Excuse me. I'm broadcasting live from Chesapeake, Virginia, and I'm in the studio with my wife, Gloria. Excuse me.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. We've got a lot of fun coming your way.
Okay. Got a little dry throat here. Excuse me. I'm just doing my live studio with my wife Gloria today, and I'll be broadcasting live from a studio to the rest of the world. And today, what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a special painting. I think it'll be a landscape, but I've done a little change here. I'm going to do either abstract or real. I'll show you why I did that, and I'll take you over to my painting table and show you how I got started. Okay, this is a landscape. This is a picture I took over the weekend. This is an old country road, and I did some plein air sketching there of this particular location. And I decided I'd do a painting with this scene on today's program. And I went back a couple of days later and took another photograph of the same road, but the sky was out now, the sun was out, and I got a shadow pattern on the road. So that's going to help a little bit of interest on the painting. Okay. So with those two photographs, those are my two reference photographs. The actual road, and then I got a shadow pattern. I've also drawn this. Drawn it twice on my sketchbook. I'll tell you what I did. I cut my sketchbook in half, and on the right side, I did more of a realistic drawing of the location of the landscape. But over here, I simplified it and made it into a more abstract shape on this side. So I got a real drawing, and I got an abstract drawing. So what I did there with the drawing, let me show you up close. On the right, this is a realistic drawing. Over here is the abstract drawing itself, simplified. Okay, now let me put this aside. I'll pull that back there later. Okay, now I did a value plan. I always do a value plan on my sketch. So this is the value plan of the actual realistic drawing. Over here, I just left that blank right now. But and also I transferred the drawings to a quarter sheet of watercolor paper, and I cut that in half. This half is the realistic drawing that I put on one side. I'll put that aside, and on this side I put the abstract shape. So this page now, I've cut it down. This is a quarter sheet. I cut it in half, so it measures 7.5 by 13. No, 7.5 by 11. 11 inches high and 7.5 inches wide. Okay, it gives me an eighth sheet to work with, and that's all I need. Okay, now over here on my palette, which is my artist watercolor palette, Holbein Artists Watercolor palette with Holbein watercolors, and I'm going to use the synthetic brushes from Holbein. This is a number 6 round synthetic. This is the 3/4 inch, and I've got a 1/2 inch flat, 3/4 inch flat, number 16 round synthetic, and then a 1 inch synthetic. These are all Holbein brushes, synthetic, and they're on my website, everettswatercolors.com. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with these brushes and with the paints here. We'll get started. Now, what I'm going to do now, as I said, they're going to do this abstract. So I'm going to use an abstract painting. And what I thought I would have a little more I have a little more fun with color today. And I'm not going to stay with the colors that I would normally put in a painting like this. So I'm going to start out with the colors that I think, and I'm going to use a lot of surprises I think you'll see. So let me get started here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the yellow. This is yellow lemon. Permanent yellow lemon. And the impact area is going to be up around here. There's some buildings and so forth. So I'm going to make a yellow section here. And that's the light in the photograph. That's the light area. So I'm using the number 6 round brush, and I'm going to put in a yellow part of the painting here. So I'm not really thinking about being realistic. I'm just going ahead and putting in colors into the shapes I see or I've drawn here into an abstract function. It will be hopefully recognized a little bit of what the subject is, but then it's going to have a different color scheme than what I would do if I did a real. Okay, now rinse out the brush. Now I'm going to let that dry, but in the meantime I'll work on another section. So what I can do here now, I can start working on the sky. I can work on the sky. Yeah, I think I'll do that. So what I'll do is I'll take a bigger brush. I'll take the 3/4 inch. Now I'm going to make the sky. I'm going to make that blue, but I'm going to make it a darker blue than what's in the photograph. So I'm going to put the blue up here, the top of the sky. This is Ultramarine Deep. I'm using Ultramarine Deep for the sky color up here. And I'm making it a lot darker than what the actual I'm not following the photograph. I'm really not following the shapes of the photograph. I'm just putting in the shapes that I like, just to give me the area. And I'm using colors that I want to use. This ultramarine blue is a beautiful color. So I have a chance to use the full strength. This is I'm not just a little bit of water in the mix, and I'm making it very dark, a lot different than what the photograph shows. And so I'm not really following the photograph. I'm using my own. What I'm doing is actually my own impression of what I want to do here. And as far as an abstract painting goes, it can look a little bit like the actual subject, but then not exactly. So I'm going along with the subject matter, but I'm changing the shapes and I'm changing the colors as I see them. Okay, so that's the sky color. And I'm gonna let that dry, and this part down here. So I'm going to make sure. I leave the blue on my leave my blue on my brush. Let's see if I make sure the sun is gone. Now on this area down here where I just put the yellow, I'm going to put a little bit of I'm going to pick up a little bit of green number 1 on my brush with the number 6 round. And I'm going to put a little bit of green in here. So green number 1. This is going to be my impact area. So this is going to have the most colorful colors. It's going to be the brightest colors. It's going to have more interest in this area. So even in an abstract painting, you can have an area of interest or focal point. So this will be my focal point, this area down here in this section. So it's not going to look anything like the photograph, which is what I'm planning on. Okay, now this section here, what I'm going to do now, above the, I'm going to I'm going to use the 1/2 inch brush now. This is the 1/2 inch brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of Quinacridone Violet now. And you can see here why the reason I chose that is the Quinacridone Violet. If I look at the color wheel, the opposite of yellow is violet. Opposite of yellow is violet. And of course, the color I have now is a little bit red violet because the red violet's got a little bit of red in it, and that's what the Quinacridone Violet's got a little bit of red in it. So it's really not pure violet, it's really a red violet over here in this section right here. But it's still opposite the yellow on the color wheel. So I'm using complementary color here now. This is a tree line now. This is a tree line in the photograph. So this shape here is not going to look like trees. It's just going to be a section. It's just going to be an area that I'm making a violet color. Now there is one. The only realistic thing I have in this realistic, or the thing that's similar to it, is that there are two buildings here in this photograph. And the two buildings are the only things that you can recognize in the actual composition. So I left those in as they were, just so I have a little bit of semi-realism, almost. So now what I'm doing now is I'm putting this, now if you'll notice, I'm putting the violet now right next to that yellow to get a strong contrast. So I'm using complementary colors now in this painting to bring out the color and to bring out the contrasting mark. This is a lot more fun than painting a realistic painting in some cases. So I decided I'd just go ahead and use complementary colors and also give an opportunity to maybe work a little abstract. I don't do these that often. I don't do these a lot. I do them once in a while. I like to practice. I'm going to now turn the page so I can get the angle here. Okay. So come on down. So that little patch there of Quinacridone Violet. So I use the paint. I use the paint right out of the palette. So this is pure paint right out of the palette. I didn't wet it down or change the color. Lift that there. Now let's see. That's gonna come over there. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. So okay. Now I'm going to decide which way I want to go with the next color. I've got this is still wet. I'm going to leave that alone. I don't want to go in there yet. So I can work on the. I think I can work on the roadway. Now I decided to do a really different roadway also. I'm going to. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to wash out this brush. I'm going to need a larger brush. I'm going to take the 1/2 inch, the 3/4 inch, and wash it out, and make sure it's clean. I'll rinse it out real good, wipe it in the rinse bucket, squeeze it in a towel. Okay, now I'm going to mix up, this is going to be one of the surprise colors right now. I'm going to use Opera. Opera is a very, very beautiful pink color. And that's the road. That's my road color. That's my road. So the road. In fact, in abstract, I don't even call it a road. It's just that's the area. That's the section I'm going to put in pink. So I'm going to start down here. I'm going to take my 1 inch, the 1 inch flat, and I put water in it. I'm going to wet the area first. So pre-wet the area so the paint will flow. So I'm going to take this section here. And I'm re-wetting it with just plain water. So this will be a little wet on wet technique, but that's just to get the paint to flow nice and smooth. And if you see my other video, you'll see I do a lot of wet on wet in certain areas to get the. Now I'm going to start down here at the bottom now with my darkest color at the bottom. Wow, look at that color. This is a wild color for the road, but that's fine. It's got fun. So Opera for the roadway. So I'm using colors that I really don't use very much in a landscape like this because I'm just having fun with the colors. And these are beautiful colors. I've got colors in my palette that I like to use now and then. I use this mostly in florals and stuff like that. But for now, landscape, I just want to pull it out, pull all the ribbons out here, pull all the stops out, and just have fun. So I'm going to start here and make this a little darker down here at the bottom. And I will use a little principle here as I go forward here. And this is the land. I'll make this a little lighter up here. And that area is already wet. So what I'll do is just keep the brush going, so it'll be lighter going forward. So there's a little value change in that pink color, the opera color. A little value change. So I will use that. I will attribute that to this particular view. This will keep a little value there, a little value lighter going forward, and let that dry. Okay, now I'm going to take the smaller brush, rinse it out, make sure it's clean. Okay, now I'm going to pick up some of that color now and put it on this area down here. This is the continuation of that same shape. In the photograph, this is the roadway, but so I'm making this into a purple roadway, excuse me, a pink roadway with opera. I don't want that to mix it, so I'm going to keep that a little bit separate. Let that dry. Let the other part dry. Okay. All right. So what I can do now, I can go ahead. Now I can play with the sky. Play with the sky and the mountain. What I've got here now in the photograph. Refer back to the photograph now. In the photograph, there's a shape back here. And what that is, that's a low cloud. The sky is up here, and it'd be like it was a low cloud at the time. I'm going to make that into a mountain. So I made that into a mountain as far as my design right back here. So that shape right there above the tree line is going to be a mountain. So I'm going to make that mountain shape now. Now what I have blue. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to change the color again. I'm going to make this orange. Because if you look at the color wheel, the opposite of blue is orange. The opposite of blue is orange. So I'm going to use a complementary color to paint the mountain. So I'm going to use orange right out of the palette, So I'm using a 1/2 inch flat brush. And I'm painting a yellow light. This is yellow orange. This is the brand of Holbein paint. And a beautiful color. These are all beautiful colors by themselves. And typically I would use them combined and mixed in with some other color, but I just like to use the colors as they are. So this is really a chance to show off the actual color, and also to play with a little bit of opposites or complementary colors, and have a little fun with an abstract painting. And I used as I say, I used the design from the photograph I used, and I just changed the shapes around. Instead of making them organic, I'm making them abstract. This is that cloud shape up there. It looked like a mountain, so I'm making a mountain shape out of this. Instead of making it look like a mountain, I'm just making it into a shape, an interesting shape. And I painted the orange next to the blue as a complementary color, and that gives it a real wild combination of blue and orange, and then down with the magenta and the yellow. Okay, and I've got the yellow in there. This is my impact area right in here. That's the most colorful section right in there. Okay, now what I can do, I think I'm going to have to blow dry that just a little bit now, because I have to get up here to the side. I want to get here and down here. So I'm going to blow dry that just a little bit. Let me turn the blow dryer on and dry this section. So what I did, I added in complementary colors all over the sky and that shape there. Well, now you can call that a sky. That shape, the blue and the orange are complementary, and then I got the purple and the yellow, which are complementary. And if I really want to look at it, here's another combination here. If you look at it here also, you've got the complement of green. The complement of green is red. So you've got the green and red. Well, I've got the green versus the ochre, which is a red color, a light red, purple or pink. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paint in some of the sidelines here. I'm going to use on the side here, I'll use my larger brush again. So I'll wipe out the 3/4 inch, clean it out, a little bit of water. Make sure it's clean. It's still got a little bit of paint in it. Okay, now I'm going to pick up a little bit of burnt sienna. I use burnt sienna a lot in landscapes, but this is not the reason I'm using it here. I'm just going to use it as a color. Burnt sienna is a beautiful color also, just by itself, which is what I'm going to do right here. So burnt sienna I'm going to put in on the side here of the road. So burnt sienna here, I'll use burnt sienna. And I could wet this up a little bit also, just to get the water, get the paint, the paper a little bit wet. So re-wet this a little bit. Okay, then I want it a little bit darker down here at the bottom. As I come into the paint, it'll be a little bit darker. So I'm starting from the bottom of the painting. And this is an abstract, this is the edge of the, in the paint, in the photograph, this is the edge of the roadway. So I'll make it into another shape with another color. So I borrowed the shapes from the photograph. I just borrowed the shapes and said, okay, I'm going to make those into a simple shape, and I'm also going to use a different color. That's basically my idea of this abstract painting, is just to use the shapes that I saw, redesign them a little bit, make them a little simpler, a simpler shape, but interesting shapes, and then paint them an entirely different color. So that was my plan, that was my purpose, was to do an abstract painting from the colors. And I'm using abstract in terms of, this is not a realistic painting. I'm using the shapes from a realistic viewpoint. Now, what I'll do now is pick up some of this color here. I want this to be a little lighter up here. So I took the water out of the brush and pull it up so it'll be a little bit lighter up here at the top, and then a little bit darker down here at the bottom. Again, to give that feeling of depth. Have the eye go into the impact area or into the focal point from the bottom up to the top. Okay. Now I've got another section over here that I want to make the same color on the other side of the road. So I'm going to go ahead and re-wet that with water, just a little bit, wet this section over here. And this side of the road is going to use the same color over here. I'll pick up a little bit of that burnt sienna, and I'll come in here. I'll be a little bit darker here at the bottom, or this section, and as I go forward toward the impact area, I'll get a bit lighter value toward the impact area. What I want to do now, I'm going to take a little bit of this section off here. I'm going to take a tissue, and I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to pick up some of this up a little bit, just a little bit off here at the edge. Reduce that section. There. Okay, I have a reason for that. Okay. And let's see. Different color. Okay. All right. Now I've got this dry, not dry, so I can go ahead and start putting the trees in now. So what I'm going to do is switch brushes again. What I'm going to do is put in some trees over here. And I'm going to use two colors. I'm going to use that green number 1, and maybe I'll pick up a little bit of Hooker's green on this one. I want the color to be a little darker, so I'll pick up a little bit of Hooker's green, darken that green up a little bit. Add some water to that, give me a nice little mixture. And then I'm going to add in, now as I go in, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start up here with the green, up here at the top, just fill this section in. And as I come down toward the bottom area, I'm going to pick up a little bit of blue now. So ultramarine blue here at the bottom. So that would a little darker at the bottom of this section. Using ultramarine blue mixed in with that green. This is a number 16 round, which comes to a nice fine point for detail. So carries a lot of paint, and I can also do a lot of design with this. Just a nice round brush with a lot of volume for paint. So it's a 16 round. That's also on my website. All these brushes are Holbein Synthetic, and I have on my website everettwatercolors.com on my supply page, and I have lots of videos on YouTube. You just go to YouTube and just sign in as Everett's Watercolors, and you'll find me. I got over 500 videos on there, and I've done lots of trees and other paintings that might be interesting to you. Not too many. I haven't done too many abstract ones, so this is one of a kind. Now I'm going to start over here with that same green. I got trees on one side, and I got a little bit of trees over. So these shapes are simulating that shape. I'm going to turn the painting just a little bit so I can get on the side here. So I'm going to put in the mixture of Hooker's green, And I'm going to leave a little edge over here on this one. There's a reason for that. I'll show you in a minute here as I get to it. So I'll get the green started here, and then I'll come over and do the next little section. These are the shapes that I simplified and also took right from the photograph. I made them into a different shape. And here I'm going to leave a little white edge between these sections, simulate those shapes. Again, and I'm going to come over here with another shape of green. Hooker's green, and just a touch of green number 1, but mostly Hooker's green, because it's dark green, my darkest green in the palette. You can always darken it with a little bit of blue, or add a little bit of contrast to it, which would be red. You can darken up the greens very easily. Or I like to mix my own greens a lot. I use the blue and the yellows, and the blue and with yellow ochre. That gives me a nice green. So there's lots of ways of mixing greens besides out of the palette. But I'm using straight out of the palette today. These are all palette colors, side by side, right from the palette. Very little mixing, other than when I put the darkening in. Now I'm going to do one more of the, no, there's one more, there's two more. So there's bush here. These are shapes in the painting from the photograph, and I simplified them and turned them into an abstract. And I think that's a lot of fun. That's good for an artist to experiment. This is experimental painting. To experiment with different ways of painting a subject. Don't always want to stay with the same style or the same way of painting. You know, change it around a little bit, make it a little different. And you'll find that you've learned a lot of things from it. You'll find out, you know, not only the color combinations, but also maybe shapes and a way of expressing the subject. And you know, we're trying to communicate in art how we feel about a subject. This subject here is very interesting. I thought this roadway photograph was very interesting, but I wanted to make it more interesting for painting, and I thought an abstract would be another way of looking at it, another way of painting it. And I hope you agree. Hear me some comments on what you think. I don't paint like this all the time, but this is one way of doing it. It's a dark bush. Here, I shouldn't. As far as abstract, I don't even want to think about what the object is. I'm just painting the shape and getting the color in there. That's all I'm doing. I'm not thinking about what it is. So I made this side a little bit different over. I broke up the mass a little bit with some white areas in there to give it an idea of separation. So I made both sides different, not the same. So, you know, there's some art concepts here to learn. Is you know, don't make your painting too equal on both sides. Make them different on each side. So that there's a balance here. I got green on both sides, but I've got different shapes and different sizes and a different way of painting it. So there's a lesson learned here that you can try a different way of painting, a different way of expressing. Let's see, I got that one all right. Okay, all right. I'm gonna let that one dry and see. I got a little cleanup here to do. I got a little bit up here in the top. I'll take my small brush, my 1/2 inch, and let's see, clean it out real good. You have to make sure when you're mixing these strong paints out of the palette now, you got to make sure you wipe out your brush real good and rinse it out wipe it off, and then go in and mix mix a clean batch of paint. So I'm going to put in this little white section up here. I'm going to put in some blue. Cover that up a little bit there. All right, that's done. Okay, let's see. Also, I can take a little. What I'm doing, I'm going to take out some of the white areas. I got the little white space over here. I'll take this. I had to. What I did, I left them dry while I was, because there were wet sections. You don't want the wet sections to mix together too much. So you let it dry. Okay. All right. Now I got one more. I got one more section here that I got to paint in. Let me dry this out so I can put the last section in. So I got both sides of the painting now. I used the dark green, mixed in with some blue to give me a shape. So now we're drying it up here so I can put the last color in there. Okay, all right, what I want to do now is I want to put the last color in there, and the last color is going to be yellow ochre. So I'll clean up the palette just a little bit, clean the palette out just a little bit here, and I'm going to mix up some yellow ochre, make sure the brush is clean. I just came out of the blue tube with that, so I'll make sure I have a clean brush. And mix up some yellow ochre down here at the bottom of the palette. Okay, so the last area I'm going to color in is the side, it's really the section over here. So I'm going to add another layer here. Now this yellow ochre is yellow. It's next to the blue, so that's another contrasting element. Yellow and blue are opposites in the color wheel. Complementary colors. So I'm putting the yellow here next to the blue. It happens to be analogous with burnt sienna because it's got a little bit of brown in it. So, but it's still got a yellow. Yellow ochre's still got a lot of yellow in it. It's a dark yellow. I call it a dark yellow. Now I washed out the brush a little bit. Now I want it to go a little bit lighter now as I go forward to the impact area. I want to give that dimension in the painting where I got from dark to light going into the impact area. Okay. Oh, the other side, I wish I left that section over there as I want to put the yellow ochre on this side also next to the roadway. I call it, see, you're right, I will fall right back to my own trap. I'm just going in a shape. And wet the brush and just do a lighter value going toward the impact area. Okay, all right. All right, I'm going to dry that, and I'm going to do just a few little touches of detail, and then we'll be finished with this painting. All right, now what I want to do now, back here, along the roadway, here I go again. This section, all I'm going to do now is add in, I think I won't do that. What I want to do is leave that alone. That's too much detail. That's too much realistic. So what I want to do then is I want to, I'm going to stay abstract. So I'm going to take the yellow and come right up next to that road, or that, next to that pink, right next to that pink. And I'm going to take the yellow over here and come right next to that pink. Okay, then I'm going to take that, the green number 1, which I started out down here at the bottom. I'm going to add that into the bottom here. Okay. All right. Okay, that faces enough. At the top here, what I'm going to do here, just to make this really simple, is I want a dark line across here, and that will separate these two. Well, really, I don't want to do that either. I'm really going to stay. That's getting. If I start making lines and start making details, then I've changed my idea of making an abstract. So I'm going to keep it. I'm going to take a little bit more of this yellow, and I'm going to eliminate this white up here. So I'll go up here, and I'm going to make the white right up next to that purple. There, right there. Okay. All right, and then the last touch I want to do is right here at the base of this section. So I'm going to take a little more of that a little more of the opera, and I'm going to put that right in here, right across this section here. Now what that does, I'm trying to separate these two sections, because what it is, it's I'm not trying to make the realistic painting here, but I'm just trying to give a simulation of the shape that's there. And this shape has got more of a dip in there, and I'll leave that alone. I like that. And one more little touch up. I'll take my yellow, take my green again, and I'm turning it here to get more detail. Okay, all right. Now let me dry it up a little bit. Let me dry it. Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah, I like what happened. I like what's going on. I really do. Dry this off real good. This part of it is still wet. You see, once you see the shine of the paper, you know it's still wet. Okay, then I'll take my half-inch flat brush now. I'll go back in here. I see some little white specks. Clean those up. I really like that. Oh, wow, look at that. Okay, look at the colors there. I got the, so I started with the photograph here, and you can see I've got this area back in here and the roadway, but I changed all the colors. I kept the shapes basically there. Basic shapes are there. So you can see the shapes are there, but I made them simple, and then I changed the colors entirely. So that's my impressionistic painting using abstract style to show this particular subject. And I think here the impact area here worked out really well. I got everything going into this. Everything is going into this section, and you can see the little white houses there in the back, and those are in the photograph. If you haven't seen those, I'm going to point those out. There's two little buildings back here in the back. Two little buildings in the back. And this little light patch here, that's what I focused on. This little light patch was yellow. And I left the two little marks in there that look like those buildings way in the background. Okay? And I just changed the colors, simplified the shapes, and made it into an abstract, almost abstract. If I really would make abstract, you wouldn't be able to recognize most of the painting. But that's my interpretation of an abstract painting. Okay. All right. Now what I did now, earlier I did a realistic painting, and I'll share that with you. I think you ought to see that also. I took the same photograph, and then I redrew this I redrew this onto another. I used a 9x12. I used my watercolor pad 9x12 Strathmore watercolor pad, which is 140 pound. It's a 9x12 sheets come into this, and I went ahead and I transferred the painting to here. Now here I did a more realistic painting of the photograph. Now I did change the colors here. You'll notice here that I like this idea of the impression of a mountain, so I made it into a mountain back here with the sky, mountain, and I put in those tree lines, and the two buildings are still there, and the light patch, I changed it into a yellow patch. The two green bushes green trees on the side. But then I changed I left the color of the roadway gray, so I put the gray roadway in there. But I changed this color over here on the side. I made those into a more earthy tones, burnt sienna, and then yellow ochre here on the side. Okay. Now what I did do is I did a couple other things with practicing, and I'm not going to do it on this one. I'm going to leave this one alone for a while. Maybe I'll go back and play with it. But I went and did a practice one. I did some splattering here on the side. I did some splattering to give me texture. And then I put the shadow pattern in there, which I showed you. I had a photograph of the shadow. And I didn't use the exact shadow here, but I used the idea of a shadow across the road. So I added a shadow pattern in here across the roadway, which I think also makes it very interesting. Now, one of the things I want to show you, technically what I want to show you was that down here, there's a hill. This is on a hill, and it goes down and up. There's a little hill down here at the bottom of this. This is on a hill. It slopes down and then comes back to level. So this slope here, I was trying to depict that as this line here is where the slope starts. And you cross over the slope and you pick up the lower part of the roadway. And I did that here also on my realistic painting. I did the roadway here, and I just simulate this hill here is dropping off and picking up to another part of the road down here. Okay, and I even did that in the abstract. I tried to do the same thing in the abstract. I kept a section of this section here, but I also made a section down here that was smaller, and that would simulate that little dip or so forth in the actual photograph. Okay, so I stayed consistent across the board, whether abstract or in the realistic painting. And I changed the colors a little bit over here. This is a little bit too dark on this practice one I did. I like the one I did today with a lighter color here and a darker light here. Okay, if there are any questions, let me go back to my main camera. Okay, let me go back to my main camera. Okay, I had another fun day today, as you'll notice, doing an abstract painting. Semi-abstract. I mean, I used the shapes and the actual ideas from the photograph, but I changed the shapes, made it more simplified the shapes. But then I changed the colors entirely, and I used the complementary color concept, putting the blue next to the orange, and then the purple next to the yellow, and then the green next to the red. So that was my idea, was to do a abstract with complementary color and using the pure paints right out of the palette. I lightened them up a little bit with a little bit of water, but I kept the same pure pigment in the painting itself. And then the realistic one, I used I used the regular painting process of mixing the colors. The gray, I mixed the different colors. The purple mountain, I used what's it? I mixed the mountain color, and also mixed the greens for the trees. So I did a lot of mixing, and this I normally do in most of my landscape paintings. So I'm going to be back again next week on Thursday at 2:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'll be going live again this evening at 7:30 p.m. And I'm going to do simply drawing with Everett, and I'm going to be drawing some water drops. Now, if you've had trouble drawing water drops, I'll show you tonight my technique drawing water drops. I'm going to do them in pencil. I'm going to do also one in color pencil. So you have an idea of what one looks like just plain with graphite, and then one with a little bit of color around it. So I hope you'll join me tonight also at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Same channel, same place. So until next week, you all stay safe. I really enjoyed the painting today. If you have any questions or comments, put them on the comments below, and give me a question or comment. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So until next week, you all stay safe, and happy Christmas to everyone. Have a good time. I hope you have a good time with your family, and I'll see you back here again next Thursday.
Happy holidays.
Holidays are right ahead, so you all take care and don't overdo anything. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week. So, right now, bye for now.